morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. Our customers, our partners, and workmates. As Daniel mentioned earlier, it's great to see you live and in person. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to touch upon a few topics that Paul touched upon and maybe re-emphasize some of the topics that Kari spoke about. We're going to dive a little bit deeper, but not as deep as this afternoon. And there are two themes that I'm going to really stress on a little bit. One is around innovation, and second is around the Workday Platform and how the Workday Platform facilitates that innovation. A couple of topics, that's me out there. A lot of what I'm going to say covered by safe harbor statements, which I don't like to put up out there because it's pretty legal and boring. But the topics that I'm going to touch upon, where are we today in the post-pandemic world? What are some of the drivers that we have in the market today? How does that lead and drive innovation with Workday and within Workday? And finally, we'll speak a little bit about the momentum that we are seeing in the market for Workday itself. So without too much ado, I'll jump into some things that we've observed in the market today. This is based on observations from around the world, but specifically something that we've seen in Asia perspective. Paul spoke about this, the acceleration gap, and in many ways the digital acceleration gap. We all know that the pandemic accelerated digitalization by a factor of 2 to 10 times. Some markets it was 2 times, some markets it was 10 times. What should have happened by 2030 started happening now in 2022 or 2021. Now, as part of that digital acceleration, we moved from digital services to actually getting digital in the core, digital operations itself. And that's an important shift. The focus on digitalization was a lot around services and how you could digitalize your services. But then the focus shifted as a result of the pandemic into digital operations itself. Automation became all the more important. And AI and ML, which we've heard about a lot, and you'll hear a lot more about it, has become pervasive. Almost everything that you can potentially do is being looked at from the point of view of, hey, can you make it more automated with machine learning? Can we have better recommendations coming out of machine learning and deep learning technologies? The second impact that we are seeing a lot is on the work, the workforce, and the place of work itself, the 3 dimensions. But I'll focus a little more on the workforce itself. As a result of AI and ML to an extent, and I think Kerry and Paul touched upon this, cognitive is out of the door. Cognitive skills, your knowledge-based skills, a lot of it is going to be done by machine learning. So there's a shift towards socio-emotional skills. And that is where we all come in, people. We are people. That's where HR systems come in. That's where ML comes in as part of a human-in-the-loop connection. So socio-emotional skills are becoming fairly important. Skills themselves, when Kerry mentioned point number 5, I noted down a few skills. Skills related to experience mindset, skills related to process efficiency. Now, these are all different kinds of skills in the system. So how do you capture these skills? How do you develop people? That's become a lot more important today. Now, that also leads towards an agile workforce. If a person has a process efficiency skill, does not mean that the person just works as a project manager, can work in a variety of different fields. And that's made workforces much more agile. So we are seeing a lot of that today in the market. Cross-leveraging skills across different functions in an organization, and sometimes across organizations too. The third is the risk and regulatory environment, continuously evolving. Regulators trying to catch up and keep pace with what's happening in the digital world, but on the other hand, overdoing it in some cases. And that requires real-time monitoring, real-time decision-making. A lot of focus on cybersecurity. I was having a conversation this morning, again with Curry, and there's always a balance between, hosting a system in the cloud and what it can do and the amazing security that we can provide, and our CTOs are here and they can talk to you about it. But also, there's always a concern, can that actually be balanced with the functionality that's provided in the system. The final topic is around ESG. We've heard a lot about ESG, and the focus often seems to be around the environment aspect of it. The environment aspect of it has actually hit the boardroom. But I'd like to bring the attention toward the social aspect of it, the second, the environment, social, and governance. That is where the brand name of companies and organizations is actually being reflected in the market. That is where the workforce and the employees that you have play a critical role, as well as your customers have a critical role about you. So there's a lot more focus today on diversity and equity in the workforce, in addition to sustainability and in addition to actioning things at the C-level with ESG. Now, where does that leave all of us? In a world where uncertainty is the only certainty. Paul mentioned that. Disruption is continuous. So let's take a look at what some of the leaders in the industry are saying about this. With the evolution that's happening post-pandemic, interesting comment from McKinsey: as disruption increases, business as usual becomes riskier than innovation. All of us know about Steve Jobs and the famous comment that he made. It has been articulated in different forms, but what he actually said was, you can't just give customers what they want or ask them what they want and give it to them, because by the time you give it to them or build it, they want something else. And he saw innovation distinguishing between leaders and followers. Bob Iger, the leader of Disney, often commented on innovation as something that's inevitable in any part of the business. It's riskier not to do innovation than, riskier to be status quo than innovate. Old proverb, a ship is always safe in the harbor, but is that what ships are meant for? So innovation is one way to look at how you overcome continuous disruption or uncertainty being the norm in today's world. So that's going to be a little bit of focus for me in this talk. And I'll speak a little bit about how Workday has innovated over the years. We started, many of you know this, in 2005, and there's a story which I'm not going to get into about our founders who were also, who had exited from PeopleSoft, how they met at a diner and decided to create a true cloud platform. So we were the first cloud-native ERP, if you want to call it that. That's a term that many of us are familiar with. We prefer to call it enterprise systems. We were the first cloud-native ERP. We decided to put HR and finance onto one platform and take the plunge down that path. We looked at not just transactional data, but also reports and analytics being the same system, and we decided, okay, we're going to cut out all these relational database technologies. A lot of our competitors are in the market. Relational databases were the norm in terms of the underlying database technology. We decided to put things in memory and adopt, from a technology point of view, what's known as an object model. Mobile first. I think Curry touched upon mobile and the experience that that provides. We were mobile first right from day one. And we incorporated within the system a process framework that helps our customers change and adapt the system to their business processes, rather than just change themselves to the system. 6 years on, and we introduced a lot more. We built out an analytics hub around our platform, which gives us a lot more capability around that space. More functions in the area of recruiting, learning, time tracking, projects, inventory, not just HR, but across finance. A few years later, we built in much greater capability around workforce planning and financial planning. And in between, we introduced what you've heard about from Paul, and which you'll hear about a lot more, Skills Cloud, which fundamentally changes how you look at HR platforms. Our integration tools expanded too in the process. Now, what have we been doing more recently? It has been around employee engagement. Our focus has been a lot more around machine learning and AI, and how do we bring that into the system itself. Machine learning and AI has been something that we focused on quite a bit. Engagement and experience has been something that we brought to a different level within our platform, and you'll hear about this a lot more. Based on the Skills Cloud that we introduced, we also set up something known as a career hub and a talent marketplace within our platform to enable workmates to change or apply for different kinds of gigs and look for opportunities within the organization itself. More recently, in the last 2 to 3 years, we focused on extensibility, and this continues a lot more. How do we make our system extensible? Customers in this part of the world, customers in Taiwan, customers in Korea and Japan have always been telling us, hey, your platform is great, we love it, and the experience is good, but I've got this unique requirement. How do I cater to that? Now, Workday is an extensible platform that actually facilitates all of that. Now, all of this comes together in a system that is really a platform. Now, if you read articles from experts and analysts, as well as the Harvard Business Review and so on, the thing that helps you to differentiate your business often, and by extension, your technology often, is a platform architecture. Now, Workday was built from day one as a platform. We captured not just transactions, we did analytics in the same system. We also built something called a skills graph or a skills cloud. Over the years, we put in an intelligent core, which is driven by machine learning. And that feeds in a whole lot of functions, whether it's around career management, performance management, inventory management, supplier automation, or payment processing. All of that built on one platform with intelligence right in the middle. And that's why Paul used the term intelligent backbone, digital backbone. This is what we mean, is the intelligent core within our system. The innovation continues. Right now, we are in a release that we call as 2023 R1. Every year, we've got 2 major releases, which come up in March and September. So in March, we had 23 R1. 120 new features. Our entire customer base, the 4,000 customers that we have across the world, all on this release within a matter of a week. It all happens seamlessly without the customers having to know much about it. Now, as with any release, we have certain themes that we incorporate into the system. And the themes that we had in the last few years were around these: agility, experience, efficiency, insight, compliance, and trust. And around these themes, we build these 120 plus new features that we build. Examples include business processes for ad hoc project tasks. Now, I spoke about our business process framework, but if you have an ad hoc process, an ad hoc project transaction, how can you change the business process on the basis of that? So that's what that does. Hubs, we'll speak about it a little more. Supplier invoice, email ingestion. Supplier invoices often come in through emails. They don't come in necessarily through a document or through an EDI. Now, how can we ingest automatically, scan it, and ingest that automatically into the system? We use machine learning for this. Insights, customer payment matching, which is an example. So against the invoices that you generate, payments that come in, how do you automatically match that against the invoices without actually having to go and search for that? Or without having to do some extra scanning activity. Once again, we use machine learning to provide the recommendations and the matching capability for that. Compliance and trust, a variety of different capabilities that we brought in this release in each of these areas. But what about the future? Looking ahead, what are the focus areas for Workday going to be? And it falls into 5 different categories, if I could summarize it. Elevating human performance, that's always been at the core of whatever Workday wants to do. Engagement and experience, another aspect that we focus significantly on. Kari touched upon the experience that Workday provides to the users. Insight-infused applications, we differentiate between data-driven and insight-infused. You've got data, but between data and insight, you've got analytics, and then you've got insight. So it's a continuum, and where we are at the continuum is around the insights, because insights help you to take actions. Data doesn't help you to take actions. Data confuses at times. But insights help you to take actions, and that's what Workday is focused on a lot. Making finance more agile. Now, finance is a boring function. I apologize for that. I've implemented financial systems, and there's a lot of figures. But how do you make finance more agile? That's a big focus area for us. And how do we open up the system so that we can communicate with external platforms as well as provide our customers the ability to be extensible? So a big focus area for us being the 5th one. Touch upon some aspects of each of these, just some highlights. Elevating human performance, the first one that I spoke about. A lot of it revolves around Skills Cloud. Paul spoke about our Skills Cloud, and you'll hear a lot more about Skills Cloud in the afternoon in the OCHRO streams, as well as in some of the discussions we have with you today. We introduced Skills Cloud around 6 to 8 years ago. We were the first product in the market that focused entirely on skills. We built what we call as a skills library. We call it a skills ontology. And we related the skills with skills graph. We use a graph database technology to do all of that. Now, skills became a core element within our system. It's a currency around which a lot of things work. But then what do you do with that skill, with all those skills? We put data mining on top of that to provide recommendations for candidate matching. We've started providing recommendations for learning paths that employees could have. And these have been in the platform for the last few years. What we are focusing on now are some of the things that you see out there: performance and assessment, reward and pay. How can you drive performance on the basis of skills? How can you actually drive rewards and payment, compensation on the basis of skills? So going forward, we're going to be focusing on some of these elements, since we've already looked at areas like recruiting and learning. So we are infusing skills across the entire platform and driving organizations to using skills as a core currency, because the market is moving that way, and we want to be ahead of the curve with our customers on this. The second element that I spoke about is engagement and experience. And Workday has got a three-pronged strategy out here. What we call is engage, everywhere, and empower. Now, engage is to take the engagement or the experience that we provide, that you could provide with Workday to your workmates and employees, to a completely new holistic level. Now, Workday was mobile first right from day one. But being mobile first is just one step to addressing the needs of the digital natives that we have in the workforce today. And digital natives are very nonlinear in their thinking as well as in the way they work. The world itself has become nonlinear in the way that it works. So we have looked at all of this. We've got a UX and an experience team that looks at this continuously, and we've started adapting the user experience that Workday provides to nonlinear work, to the digital natives, and a more holistic experience that can incorporate not just mobile-first experiences, but potentially in the future, augmented reality, virtual reality, and other forms of semi-hybrid reality experiences. The second aspect of it is everywhere. Users in the workforce today use a variety of different platforms and interfaces on which you work. A majority of us, most of the time, are on some Microsoft platform like Outlook. Or for communication, we use Teams or we use Slack. So Workday wants to meet the users where they are. This is why we built in integrations into Teams and Slack. You can do functions, Workday functions, through Teams or Slack. And the next revolution for this, and Google Chrome is another element that we're looking at right now. The other element of this is Microsoft Viva. We've started incorporating or embedding some of our learning paths into Viva Learning and into Viva Connections. So that's how we plan to meet the users where they are. The third element is around empower. Now, empowerment comes in various forms, but an oft missed out user group within an organization are the line managers. I think Kerry mentioned this. 4 categories. She mentioned there are 4 categories of users that they look at. The executives, the managers, the employees or the workmates, the broader workforce themselves, and the HR. But what often gets missed out is a manager's experience. So how do you personalize the experience to a manager? Not just the employees. That, of course, is something that we do very well. But how do you personalize it? Again, we use machine learning and automation within this. So engage everywhere and empower, the key tenets around which we are changing our engagement as well as experience focus. I spoke about insight-infused applications, and a key element of this is the embedded analytics we provide. Right from day one, as I mentioned earlier, Workday has always had reporting and dashboards within it. We took it to the next level with a hub around our system. We are taking it to the next level in terms of visual analysis with discovery boards, which were introduced a couple of years, but which now infuses across the financials and the HR platforms today, as well as our planning systems. The second aspect of it is allowing the users to understand things very easily. A pay equity dashboard across different groups within an organization. It could even be gender-related or diversity and equity-related dashboards. The third element of this is hubs. I spoke about nonlinear work that digital natives are very familiar with. Work is very nonlinear today. You've got to take a set of related functions and traverse across those, providing the greatest levels of productivity to the user, whether an employee or a manager. Now, how do you do that? You can often bring those capabilities into what we call as a hub. So any capabilities or functions related to benefits and pay, bring it together into a hub. We already did that with the career capabilities and talent management capabilities with Career Hub a few years ago. And now we're expanding that hub concept more for the benefit of our customers. The second aspect of the insight-infused applications is how machine learning drives a lot of things within Workday today. Now, we started our machine learning journey, and you'll hear a lot more about this from Dave Sohigian later on and Damien. We started our machine learning journey as far as 6 to 7 years ago. We acquired some technology, we built in some technology, but fundamentally, we made it different. Workday's approach to machine learning is not bolt-on. If you look at some of the products that have been in the market for some time, or even some of the products that are emerging today in the space of HR and enterprise systems and finance, it's really bolt-on. You take a whole lot of data that's there in the system, push it out into another data hub, apply some logic and machine learning algorithms around it, try and figure out what data you're going to push out. That's a big problem by itself. You might push out only data that is are exceptions data and not the norm. But machine learning requires to learn from all data. Data is the fuel behind machine learning. And that's why we exposed our entire data layer within our system and built the machine learning capabilities on top of that. We also looked at what are the use cases that customers would really want. So we look at it from two angles. One is the data. Do we have enough data? Is there volume? Is there variability and everything, the technical aspects of it? But the other aspect of it is what are the use cases that would be useful for an employee? And that meets in between with the generated data representations. We use supervised and as well as unsupervised machine learning within our platform. We also look at reinforcement, and we started exploring transformer neural networks, which is the technology that drives ChatGPT today. So we've been doing this for many years, and that has resulted in more than 40 use cases that are there in the system today. Paul had a picture that shows this, and you'll hear a lot more about this. 40 use cases of machine learning in the system today. 2,000 customers, that's around 50% of our customer base, that contribute information to this machine learning and the models that we generate. And around 3.1 billion records that we ingest daily and increasing almost every other day with this. But there are three principles, there are three pillars on which our machine learning is built. And I call that the 3 E's. Embedded, Paul spoke about it, and what you saw in the ML platform architecture. We embed machine learning. It's not a bolt-on. It's not something where we push data out somewhere else and then decide, oh, is this data right for the output that I need? No. We embed machine learning into our platform. It's seamless, continuous, and you get it out of the box. The use cases are delivered to you out of the box. Skills Cloud is a prime example of one data source for our machine learning. No integrations required to external data systems where you had to push data out, bring the recommendations back, or bring the automation back. No, none at all. The second aspect is ethical. There's been a lot of focus around how responsible companies can be in terms of machine learning. And Workday places a premium on this. We've always looked at building trust with our customers, building explainability into some of the recommendations that we provide. But more importantly, we also look at external regulatory authorities coming in and having a look at our machine learning algorithms and what we provide. So trust is something that's extremely important to us and how we use the data. Customers have the choice of contributing data from their data sets, from your tenants, into our machine learning algorithms. You have a choice of what data you contribute also. Data is anonymized. PII data is not there in what we use to train our models. So we go into a lot of detail around the ethical nature of our use. And the third is elevating the human potential. We don't look at machine learning as something that is going to replace the human. Instead, we look at the human in the loop approach, where recommendations can be provided, but the ultimate decision is actually done by the human. Now, that's a huge difference between machine learning and deep learning. Deep learning would actually take the recommendation for you. But and that's the reason, as we look at technologies like transformer neural networks, we are very careful about, okay, do we take the decision for you, or do we still provide the human in the loop on this? And we are spending a lot of time around this today. But we would like to elevate the human potential rather than replace the human potential out here. Moving on to the fourth topic, which was around making finance more agile. And there are a variety of aspects in our architecture that support this. Finance today and the role of the CFO is not just operational. The CFO is not just a caretaker of trial balances and profit and loss statements and a report that goes into the annual or the quarterly reports. The CFO is critical to the strategy contribution in an organization. CFOs actually help decide on the go-to-market strategies. And for that, they need information that is real-time. They need book closures that are done extremely quickly. And in many cases, they need the help of machine learning for automation on this. And that's what we've done through our intelligent data core, providing automation and scalable financial operations, providing recalibration capabilities for the planning in real time, as well as helping to manage spend with ML-driven capabilities like Expense Protect. One of the innovations we introduced a couple of years ago in this, which continues to be developed a lot more, is what you see as Accounting Center. How many of you here have heard about the Cody Awards? Anyone heard about the Cody Awards? Put up your hand. Now, anyone heard about the Oscars? Yes, I see a few snickers out there. The Cody Award is the Oscars of the technology industry. The Cody Award rewards companies that have excellence in software and are the most innovative and develop the most innovative software. And in 2021, a year after we launched Accounting Center and Workday were awarded this. Now, what does Accounting Center do? In very simple words, and this can be a long discussion, it allows you, there's a huge bridge between your GL systems and your source systems. Think about a retail operator. They've got source systems like point-of-sale platforms. Think about a bank. They've got the core banking system. Think about a telecom operator. They've got the core billing systems and customer care platforms. They generate a lot of information which eventually needs to go into the GL. But how do you get that information in? How do you analyze that information? How do you provide lineage, data lineage for that information, and actually journalize that information? A lot of that is done through integration today. Expensive integration, time-consuming, not flexible, not business-oriented. A business user can't use it. Accounting Center fits in that piece in between, helps you to automate it, helps you to make it business-friendly. And that's why we got the Cody Award there. The fifth area is around extensibility and openness. Now, we've always focused a lot on integration capability and business process framework. Workday is extremely configurable, and this helps us. Where we're focusing on a lot more these days is around a component called Workday Extend. Many of you might have heard about this, and it's particularly applicable in this part of the world. Now, Workday Extend allows you to extend the capability of Workday within the same framework, within the same secure framework that you have. You don't need to develop a system on the side and worry about integrating it. It provides you the interconnectedness through the Workday APIs to other platforms too. Now, today we've got more than 700 applications developed using Workday Extend through our partners, through our customers. So they're extending the capability of Workday in many different ways. We have more than 300 customers. We also use Workday Extends to develop completely specific applications for certain industries, what we call as industry accelerators and package solutions. Many of our partners do this for us. To give you an idea of what Workday Extend can help you to do, let's say supply sustainability, big thing. I spoke about ESG in the boardroom. So one of the elements of environmental control that the CFO or the CEOs or even the COOs want to have is not just about what did they do in terms of carbon footprint and emissions and so on, but what do their suppliers do and how do you track that? Very difficult to track that. You need different kinds of data for this. So through a combination of Workday Extend as well as Prism Analytics, which is our analytics hub, you could get reports of this type. You could get dashboards of this type. A variety of different applications that have been developed in the space of the HR systems as well as finance, the Office of the CHRO and the Office of the CFO. For example, healthcare financial planning, supplier sustainability I spoke about, code-to-cash processes, employee document management, which is very useful to augment what is already there in Workday. Now, as I said, there are a number of different packaged applications. Today, we have close to around 60 or 70 packaged applications that have been developed by our partners or by our services team, or in some cases, even by our customers. All of that, to a great extent, based on our configurability, integration capability, but most importantly, Workday Extend. So those are the 5 areas that we've been focusing on, and this has helped us continuously innovate on our platform. Today we have, across the Asia-Pacific region, Paul shared some of the customers we have in Hong Kong and in Taiwan, but across the Asia-Pacific, across our HCM and financials, we have close to 300 customers, more than 300 customers. Our planning, which is a critical component, and you can see a lot more of that outside in the demo booths, as well as hear about it from Vince later. Business planning, moving on into enterprise planning. We are one of the leaders in the market out here with around 500 plus customers there. And our employee voice, which is our engagement system for employees, we've got more than 180 customers in that space. The innovations that we've introduced in the market have also been gaining traction. And I'll give you some statistics out here. Accounting Center, in our last financial year, which closed in January, we had 100% growth in the number of customers using Accounting Center. Help is a capability that we introduced, which is a case avoidance system, to some extent a case management system, grew by 180% in terms of our customer base, 80% increase for Extend, Journeys, and Talent Marketplace. For some of the innovations that we introduced 2 to 3 years ago, we've had significant uptake. Talent Marketplace, which drives a skills-driven strategy. Close to 45% of our customers in the region use Talent Marketplace. More than 50% of our customers use our learning modules. And time tracking, which also leads into scheduling, more than 44% of our customers use time tracking across APJ regions. So these innovations, what you see, which we introduced a few years ago, have had a significant uptake in the market too. So once again, before I wrap up, I'd like to stress on what Workday has been focusing on. Building things into a platform and bringing innovation as the answer to continuous disruption that you see in the market. Market where uncertainty is the only certainty, innovation is something that can help move things forward with a platform approach. Thank you very much.